A jagged scream tore through the reception hall, sharp enough to slice the wedding drums in half. Guests froze mid-chew, mid-dance, mid-gossip. And at the center of that stunned silence stood the new bride, her veil trembling, her eyes fixed on the one truth that shattered her marriage before the honeymoon even began. Welcome, dear viewers, to another gripping tale. If stories that twist like a snake in tall grass excite you, then settle in by the glow of your screen. Before we dive deeper, hit the like button, drop a comment telling us where you are watching from, and subscribe so you never miss another tale that grabs your chest like this one. And to my returning subscribers, welcome back. Your seat by the storytelling fire is still warm. Now let's slip straight into the heart of the storm. For months, Eseohe planned her wedding with the devotion of a farmer tending sacred land. Every lace, every flower, every spoon on the table had meaning. She told her friends she wasn't just marrying Chukwudi, she was marrying peace, a soft place, a future. But peace has a way of disguising itself as danger wearing perfume. From the start, Chukwudu's elder sister, Madam Onwa, carried a cloud around her like a personal weather system. She never smiled at Eseohe, not during introductions, not during family meetings, not even when Eseohe brought expensive gifts to the house. The woman's eyes were always calculating as if she were watching a thief. Still, Eseohe convinced herself it was nothing. She will warm up, she told her mother. Some people just have stiff faces. If only she knew the stiffness hid a secret sharp enough to destroy a home. The cracks started small. A missing engagement bracelet here, a mysterious rumor there. A strange coldness from Chukwudi whenever he returned from visiting his family. Eseohe would ask questions, but Chukwudi always responded with a tired smile and fingers rubbing his temple, his signature move for avoiding the truth. Soon the whispers grew legs. On the night before the wedding, Eseohe overheard her aunties murmuring like pigeons pecking at secrets. Are you sure this marriage should hold? One sister cannot hate her this much without a reason. What if the reason is what I heard? But before she could press anyone for details, morning arrived with drums, dancing, and a groom who looked oddly jumpy for a man marrying the love of his life. Still, the wedding went on. The vows were said, the rings exchanged. The crowd cheered so loudly that even the village goats paused to listen. And then, just as the reception reached its peak, just as the MC called for the couple's first dance, a stranger walked in. A woman, tall, beautiful, carrying a baby with eyes that mirrored Chukwudi's so perfectly the resemblance felt like a slap. Eseohe didn't know who screamed first, herself or the universe. Because what the woman announced, what she revealed, what she claimed right there in front of the bride's family, the groom's family, and a hall filled with witnesses, was the betrayer Madam Onwa had been protecting with her life. The hall erupted into a thunder that didn't come from the sky. Cheers scraped, women gasped, men muttered, and the DJ, confused but loyal to chaos, froze the music mid-beat. But the woman with the baby stood calm, her voice slicing through the noise like a lantern pushed into darkness. Chukwudi, come and carry your son. Her words were a stone thrown into still water. The ripples hit everyone. Eseohe's knees wobbled. She didn't know whether to sit, faint, or tear her wedding gown off and run into the nearest bush. Chukwudi stood rooted, his mouth opening and closing like a tired generator that refused to start. Madam Onwa rose slowly, too slowly, like a villain revealing herself in a folktale. She didn't deny it. She didn't shout. She simply adjusted her wrapper and said, "Since you refuse to tell her, destiny has told her for you." The betrayal in her voice wasn't aimed at Essie. It was aimed at her own brother. The crowd leaned in. The baby began to force. The air thickened like boiling okra. Essie's mother stormed forward, wrapper tied tight under her arm, ready for battle. "Madam Onwa, what is this? On your brother's wedding day? What nonsense is this?" But Madam Onwa only pointed at the child, her face twisted in a victory that felt centuries old. "This marriage should never have held," she said. "We warned him. He refused. He wanted to pretend as if he did not know responsibility." Then the stranger stepped closer, shifting the baby to her other arm. "I kept quiet for months," she said. "But when I heard he was marrying another woman, those two words hit Essie like fire licking dry grass." The crowd exploded again. "Chukwudi, talk! Is this your child? What is all this?" Chukwudi finally managed to speak, voice trembling. It's not what it looks like." The hall roared with laughter and disbelief. Even the usher stopped pretending to distribute food. Essie stared at him, tears burning at the corners of her eyes, but pride held them back. "Then tell us," she said, her voice a whisper sharpened by pain. "What is it?" Before he could answer, his phone slipped from his pocket and clattered onto the tiled floor. Madam Onwa picked it up. She tapped the screen. One look at the open messages, and she raised the phone high like evidence meant for the ancestors. "Here," she declared. "Ask him who Anita is. The same Anita he was planning to bring back into the house next week, after this marriage, after humiliating this innocent girl." The crowd gasped again. It was becoming a symphony of disaster. Essie felt the world tilt. She stared at Chukwudi, silently begging him to deny it, to say anything, even a lie, just something to show she hadn't walked into a burning house disguised as love. But Chukwudi stayed silent and guilty. The stranger smiled sadly. "He told me he loved me. He told me he would fix things with his family. But then I heard he was getting married, and I knew I had been used." Madam Onwa clapped her hands with finality. "Bring out the truth. Everything must scatter today." The bride's mother lunged towards her. "You knew all this and still allowed my daughter to marry into your cursed household?" Chairs shifted. Guests stood. Sides formed like armies preparing for war. Standing in the eye of the storm, Essie felt something inside her crack. Not loudly, but quietly. The way a heart breaks when it has no more room to hope. And then, from the entrance, another voice joined the chaos, a deep, angry voice. One that made several girls to jump. "Madam Onwa, tell them the rest." Every head turned. A man stood at the door, and what he knew would twist this story even further. The crowd swayed like tall grass hit by a sudden wind. The man at the door stepped into the hall with the slow confidence of someone carrying truth heavy enough to bend iron. People whispered his name, Odogu, Chukwudi's cousin. The one who had left the family house after a fight nobody ever fully understood. Now, he walked straight towards the heart of the chaos, eyes locked on Madam Onwa. "Tell them," he repeated, voice steady as a drum ready for battle. Madam Onwa stiffened. Her fingers tightened around the phone. For the first time since the scandal erupted, her confidence cracked like dry palm kernel. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. Odogu didn't answer her question. Instead, he turned to the bride's family, then to Essie, who stood trembling like a lantern in wind. "The woman with the baby," he said, pointing gently, "didn't come here today to cause confusion. She came because someone pushed her to." The entire hall leaned in. "Someone has been feeding her information," Odogu continued. "Someone who wanted this marriage to scatter, not because of the baby, but because of property." A murmur rolled through the hall. "Property?" Madam Onwan's eyes widened in warning, but Odogu ignored her. "Let me talk," he barked. And even the DJ flinched behind the speakers. He turned to Essie, directly speaking as if the hall wasn't packed with fire-breathing gossipers. "This woman, Madam Onwa, has been controlling Chukwudi since they were children. Their late father left land and businesses in both of their names. But if Chukwudi marries, control shifts. The wife becomes part of decision-making." Gas scattered like startled birds. "So," Odogu continued, "she planned to ruin this marriage before it began." He paced slowly, revealing the truth, one piece at a time. "She found the woman carrying Chukwudi's child. Instead of encouraging him to take responsibility like a man, she encouraged the opposite. Silence, delay, denial. Then she waited patiently for the wedding day." He turned sharply to Madam Onwa. "You wanted the scandal. That way, the marriage would collapse and you will keep all the power." Madam Onwa lunged forward. "Lies!" But Odogu raised his hand, stopping her words mid-flight. "You arranged for the woman to show up today. You promised her money. You told her, if you want justice, the whole world must hear your voice. But you didn't do it for justice. You did it to break this girl and control your brother." The stranger holding the baby looked shaken. I thought you were helping me," she whispered to Madam Onwa. Odogu wasn't finished. "And as for Anita, the woman in the messages," he held up another phone. "Anita is not just some side woman. She's Madam Onwa's friend's daughter. A marriage of convenience she had been forcing on Chukwudi for months. A way to merge business ties and increase her power." The hall exploded again. Women grabbed their heads. Men shook their heads. Some guests began recording discreetly. This was premium family drama content. Chukwudi, pale and sweating, finally spoke. "I didn't want any of this," he whispered. "I didn't want Anita. I didn't know how to tell Essie about the baby. Onwa told me, she said if I do what she wants, everything will be fine." Essie staggered backward, her bouquet trembling in her hand. "So you lied to me because your sister told you to?" she asked, her voice low, raw, almost breaking. Chukwudi took a step toward her, hands outstretched. "Essie, please." But before he could touch her, her father stepped between them, a wall of rage wrapped in agbada. "Don't you dare lay a finger on my daughter!" Silence fell, heavy and electrifying. Madam Onwa's facade finally shattered. "Enough!" she screamed. "You think I will stand and let all of you twist the story? That girl," she pointed at Essie, "came into this family for money." A collective "ha" rolled through the hall. "She charmed my brother. She wanted access to our businesses. You all think she's innocent? Ask her about the midnight messages she sent to my brother. Ask her." "Stop lying," Odogu snapped. "You forged those messages." The hall erupted again, hotter than pepper stew. And right then, from the doorway, another figure stepped in. A woman, older, graceful, wrapped in deep blue lace. Every breath in the hall paused, because it was Chukwudi and Onwa's mother. the one whose word would end arguments, end wars, or end her daughter's schemes. And she had heard everything. The hall froze as Mama Chukwudi entered, her presence settling over the crowd like evening harmattan. Cold, sharp, unavoidable. Her gele rose like a crown, her eyes heavy with disappointment and something deeper, sorrow. Even Madam Onwa stepped back. Mama, she whispered. But her mother's hands rose, stopping her like lightning freezes a branch mid-sway. Mama Chukwudi walked straight to the center of the hall, her face unreadable. The drums outside slowed as if the world itself leaned in to listen. She faced Essie first. My daughter, she said softly, I welcomed you into this family with an open heart. You showed respect, patience, humility, and yet today you have been dragged through mud you did not create. Essie swallowed hard, her eyes glistening. Then Mama turned to her son, Chukwudi. His name cracked like dried firewood in her mouth. He bowed his head, unable to meet her gaze. I raised you better than this. A man who cannot speak truth is no husband. A man who hides behind his sister is no leader. You have allowed shame to enter this house. Chukwudi's shoulder trembled, but Mama saved her most scorching fire for her daughter. As for you, Onwa, the hall echoed with tension. You were born first. You were supposed to guide, protect, and uplift your brother. Instead, you have become a thief of peace. Everything must bend to your will. You manipulate, you deceive, you destroy. She stepped closer, eyes piercing. A strong woman does not build her throne by tearing down others. Onwa's chin quivered. She opened her mouth to speak, but Mama raised her hand again. Not today. Not after all this. Then Mama faced the stranger holding the baby. You too have been used. And for that, I'm deeply sorry. This child is innocent, and he deserves love, not drama. The woman nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Mama exhaled slowly, then turned to face both families. This marriage, she looked at the shattered bride and the trembling groom, cannot continue today. A hush fell. The groom gasped softly. The bride closed her eyes. Mama continued, firm but gentle. What was meant to begin with joy has been poisoned with deceit. Healing must come before union. Truth must come before celebration. Chukwudi, you must take responsibility for your child. You must repair the harm you have done. And you, Essie, you deserve a man whose love is not built on secrets. A wave of solemn agreement murmured through the crowd. Mama stepped towards Essie, taking her hand. My daughter, return with your parents. Keep your crown safe. When a house is on fire, you do not walk inside simply because you were invited. The bride's mother pulled her daughter close. Girls cleared a path. And in a silence thick with heartbreak and awakening, Essie walked out of the reception hall, not as a broken bride, but as a woman who chose dignity over disaster. Chukwudi fell to his knees. Madam Onwa hid her face. The stranger cuddled her child. Mama stood tall, like an iroko that refused to bend to the storm. And the wedding that ended before the honeymoon became the story the village would whisper for years. Moral of the story: truth will always find its voice. No matter how deeply secrets are buried, they have a way of rising, often at the worst possible time. Family should build, not break. Power, pride, and manipulation destroy relationships faster than enemies outside the home. Protect your peace. even when your heart is involved. Walking away is sometimes the bravest and wisest choice.
In a village by the
Thank you so
tall
much for
baobab
watching.
tree,
Thank you for listening.
an elder's voice and
If you
whisper
enjoyed the
sets
story,
us free.
please don't forget to join the family.
Jubosmiles on screens, a tale they weave, ancient echoes in stories we believe.